Hello, everyone. Happy spring and welcome to the second episode of A QISSAA with Ishika. Quintessential and inspiring stories of South Asian artists. My name is Ishika Muchhal and I'm coming to you from Los Angeles, California, the land of the Tongva people. Before we start today's interview, I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the violence and hate crimes that have been occurring against the AAPI community and stand in solidarity with them against hate and racism. If you are interested in supporting in any way, there is a link in the description in YouTube with a bunch of resources, so please check that out if you would like. My guest today, Aishveryaa Nidhi, has been a performer across 3 continents, working in India, New Zealand, Australia, and the US. In her illustrious career, she has performed in numerous films, television shows, and commercials, from Hollywood to Bollywood, and in between. I had the pleasure of meeting Aishveryaa when she performed her one-woman show, Gandhari, at the Hollywood Fringe Festival. Later working with her for the show's run at the Pasadena Repertory Theatre, A Noise Within. Aishveryaa is not only an actor, but also a filmmaker, producer, member of the Screen Actors Guild, an arts administrator, and founding artistic director of Abhinay School of Performing Arts, Incorporated. Her work has been performed and recognized at the Short and Sweet Theatre Festival, the world's largest 10-minute play festival. As an artist, she has been invited to teach and perform at venues such as Opera Australia and the Sydney Theatre Company. Her numerous accolades include United India Association's Outstanding Person of the Year, South Asian Artist of the Year in Melbourne, and St. George's Volunteer of the Year Award 3 times for her contribution to art and culture and literary work. I am honored to introduce Aishveryaa Nidhi.
Namaskar.
Hello, thank you so much for being here.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Well, I wanted to start off by asking something towards the relative beginning of your acting journey. Can you tell us how you got introduced to acting and performance, and what were your struggles like when you were starting off?
Not an easy one to answer. I don't know how I started, but I guess I was always involved in school productions, and in my college, I was always involved in extracurricular activities, whether it was, group dance or group song or group plays that you do without realizing what I was doing. I was just happy performing. And I was an outstanding NCC cadet. I was a senior under officer, and we used to do a lot of performances as part of NCC and also at our annual training camps. So it's always been part of me, but I was never serious. I didn't know it was my calling, and I wish I knew that we would be doing that when I grew up. I mean, when I look at you, you people are so focused. You know what you want in life. I didn't even know what I wanted in life. Seriously. I mean,
I wish
if
I
I
knew.
knew, I wouldn't have studied so much. But I'm glad in a way I did, because, whatever work I did, whatever studies I did, brings a different perspective to my life and adds up to my life experiences, which I can use in my acting as well.
Definitely. That's a really brilliant answer, and I can assure you that I also have no idea what I'm doing, so...
You are so brilliant. You're so focused. You're multi-talented, Ishika. I know that.
Oh,
I've seen your Arangetram and your performance in the musical Tarzan. I know how talented you are. Such a singer, writer, actor, dancer, multifaceted personality. I learned Kathak for a year when I was younger. I also learned music. I learned how to play harmonium and guitar, but I wasn't serious. I just used to do it in summer holidays and then give up, right? I didn't continue. I didn't practice every day. I still don't. I have a keyboard. I sometimes play the old songs that I liked. I remember learning Ajib Dasta Hai Ye. And I learned it on harmonium. Then I learned it on guitar. and I play it on keyboard sometimes. But I'm still not serious. I do it once in a while, maybe, once in 3 months.
I mean, we're already uncovering some hidden talents. I didn't even know that you played instruments, so thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and I told you I'm not very good at it. I don't take that very seriously, but I enjoy playing whenever I'm playing.
Absolutely. And so, of course, that you have done so much work on both the stage and the screen. So, if you could pick, what type of roles would you gravitate towards? What do you enjoy playing?
I enjoy playing women-centric roles. I especially enjoy playing Gandhari in my solo performance, and of course, other characters that I play with it.
Yes.
And I like when I'm challenged to do something different, something new, like in film Elsewhere by Kali Baker Johnson. I learned to speak Gujarati, and I spoke Gujarati in the film a little bit. And I like the challenges, and I like the challenges of speaking Punjabi in Virsa and few other short films.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, as an actor, you like when you get something different to play.
Yeah. I mean, watching you in Gandhari was just like watching a masterclass in acting. I mean, because you had to portray a blind woman, and, well, not a blind woman, but someone who chose to be blind. So that was brilliant. And thank you for telling about like the roles that you like to play.
Thank you for such flattering comments, but it's not me. It's actually Arvindji and his brilliant writing and beautiful direction and set design. Mm-hmm. I'm just an instrument.
Okay. So you have performed in 3 continents. Where do you find that your art making process was best nurtured, or where it was, I won't say the easiest, but where you were able to do the most of what you wanted to do?
I feel I'm really blessed. I've enjoyed working wherever I worked. I had a blast with Asmita Theatre Group in Delhi when I was performing, but as I said, I wasn't really taking it seriously, not spending much time, doing whenever I had time and, whatever I could do. But when I moved to New Zealand in 2000, I was welcomed with open arms. I joined a workshop with Sally Spencer Harris of RADA, and soon I had an agent. And before I could open my eyes, I was performing in a play. Mm-hmm. And it was David Hare's play, forgetting the name. The Racing Demon, yes. Okay. And we did few shows and did some fundraising for churches of Auckland. And I did few commercials, including one for Bank of America, which was for American market. Mm-hmm. That time I didn't know I would be moving to America and having an account in the Bank of America.
Your artistic career foretold your future plans, I guess. So you have received so many awards for your work in your community. Can you talk about any one specific award that has had the most impact on you, or something that you really hold near and dear to your heart?
It's always encouraging to get recognized for your work, and that's a motivation for you to continue working hard and continue doing what you love to do. I don't know what's most important. But I think invitation to perform in Kurukshetra for Gandhari was very special to me, because that's where the story actually happened. Mm-hmm. And that was something very important for me. I performed in various venues, including Prithvi Theatre and, in Sydney and Hollywood. But performing Gandhari, a story of Mahabharata at Kurukshetra, was something very important, I feel.
I can only imagine. I mean, I wish I could have. I wish sometime in my life I can go there.
Yeah, it's easy.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Just need an air ticket.
So, talking about Gandhari, I know that you've been in that and also a couple of other one-woman shows. So, what draws you toward the one-woman structure, and what has that experience been like?
I'm very inspired by Rabindranath Tagore's poem, the song Ekla Cholo Re. তবে একলা চলো একলা চলো একলা চলো re. When I was new in Australia, I didn't see faces on TV, film, or theater that looked like me. There was so much underrepresentation. It still is, but it's changing. It's changed a lot since then. And I decided to just go my way. And I invited Arvindji and worked on Gandhari and performed at NIDA in 2005 for the first time. So that was my inspiration. I'm sorry, I lost track of the question. What was the question?
No, can you just tell us a little bit more about, of course you've talked about Gandhari, but you've been in 2 other one-woman shows as well, correct?
Yeah, I enjoyed performing in and as Kasturba at Los Angeles Women's Theatre Festival, which is written and directed by Juliet Jeffers. And I also performed another play called Late for School. It's written by Ian Moss and directed by Juliet Jeffers for Short and Sweet Hollywood in 2017.
Nice. That's wonderful. I mean, that's something that I always really admire the people who can write and put on a one-woman show or a one-person show. There's so much power and so much, I don't know, it's hard to describe. It's just so much admiration for those who do that. So I'm really lucky that I got to see you perform Gandhari.
Easy for you, Ishika. You just have to take a first step. Just make up your mind and you're half done.
Yeah. So I met you when you were performing at the Hollywood Fringe. So can you tell us what that experience was like?
Beautiful. In one word, Hollywood Fringe is the biggest theater festival that happens on this part of the world. And there were roughly 1,000 performers, 1,000 shows in various venues and different timings. Since I'm very much passionate about Indian stories and representing Indian culture and Hindi language, it was a pleasure. I think that was the only play which was in Hindi that year.
Oh, wow.
They're all in English, mostly in English and Spanish, maybe. Yeah.
That's wonderful. And you've always been promoting Hindi as a language and in the arts. I know that you started a Hindi Divas program. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, Hindi Divas falls on 14th of September every year, which is when Hindi was constituted as the national language of India. And we used to have playwriting workshops with Alex Brown in Sydney as part of Abhinay School of Performing Arts. And the local stories written by Indian Australians, he used to pick one based on the writing and the audience response. And it was invited for Short and Sweet Festival. And out of those stories, I translated many stories into Hindi and we started performing Hindi Divas every year. We used to have 10 plays of 10 minutes each. And I've even celebrated Hindi Divas as part of Sydney Fringe Festival in 2012. It was a 2-day event with 10 plays on one day and my show Gandhari the other day.
Oh, wow. That's back-to-back performance. That seems very fun.
Oh, yes, it was hard work, but very much enjoyed doing it. Absolutely. And we get to involve a lot of community and the younger generation and people who crave to work in Hindi and perform on stage in that language.
Absolutely. It's so important that even though you are here now, that you're still holding true to your language and the culture and the heritage and the stories that you grew up with and that so many of us grew up with but just don't see here. So thank you for that. You were talking about the Short and Sweet Festival, so and you've been recognized multiple times there for your work and performances. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and what competing there was like?
Short and Sweet is actually the world's biggest theater festival of 10-minute plays in the world. It started in 2002 by Mark Cleary, and it's now all over Australia, India, various other countries, including USA and Ireland and
wow.
Dubai, and maybe soon in Japan and Mexico.
Wow.
I was not aware of the program, but I saw a call for actors in 2009 somewhere, and I just auditioned. And I got part in two plays. One was Mandragora by David Sharp, and the other one was by Elizabeth Warning. So I just didn't know how big the festival was, but there were 1,000 artists involved. It was very competitive. And we were in week 1 of Short and Sweet, Sydney 2009, and we got the judges' prize. We came first and we were invited to perform in gala finals.
Wow.
And I didn't know how and what was happening. I got a nomination for the Best Actress Award, which made me the first actor from Indian background to get a nomination.
Wow. And I think you also said that you were the first director also of Indian background, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, I directed a play for Short and Sweet called Irish Stew, written by Carrie Pepper of USA. And we came first in the audience choice, and we were invited to perform at the People's Choice Showcase in Sydney. I've been involved in 11 Short and Sweet festivals in India, Australia, and Hollywood here. In 2017, I performed, but when I'm not performing, I've been involved as a judge and also a script assessor sometimes. But I've produced, directed, and performed and been around in various capacities for more than 20 plays for Short and Sweet.
That's amazing. It must be just like a melting pot of stories from all over the world. That just sounds amazing.
Yeah, there are entries from all over the world which come to Short and Sweet, and it goes on for roughly 3 months every year in Australia, in Sydney.
Oh, wow.
It's a big, huge festival. It's huge. And people travel from all over the world to perform.
So that's even longer than the Hollywood and Edinburgh Fringe Festival. Wow.
It is. Yes, it is. It is the world's longest film festival.
Wow. Well, I'm so excited that I got to hear about this from you, and I'm sure that many people who have not heard of that now, I know I will be looking into that after this.
You can perform in New Hollywood. Now it's in Hollywood as well.
That's true.
Happens right in the heart at Marilyn Monroe Theatre at Lee Strasberg on Santa Monica Boulevard.
Okay, that's not too far.
Keep you posted next time.
Thank you. I will do. So let's take a step away from acting for a second. Beyond acting and filmmaking, you are also an artistic director. So can you tell us about how you founded your institute, Abhinay School of Performing Arts?
It's my passion about my own stories, my own culture, and I want to represent our rich cultural heritage in the appropriate way. And when we were in Australia, there were lack of opportunities for people like me, people from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds. So my husband and I decided to have a nonprofit organization. In 2009, we started, and we found artists and teachers, qualified teachers from various backgrounds, and started classes in Kathak, Bollywood dancing, Bhangra, and Hindi language. And then we started having playwriting workshops with Alex Broon. We've had workshops on acting, voice training, different streams.
Oh, wow.
And we've really enjoyed contributing, to the community and giving back in some ways that we can.
Absolutely. That's brilliant. I mean, that you do so much. That I feel like there's nothing that you don't do. That's incredible. And you touched on telling your stories and how there hasn't really been that much representation for people that look like you and me. So how did being South Asian influence your acting journey personally?
I would say that coming from a different background and having lived in different countries and different continents and interacting and working with people from diverse backgrounds only adds to my life experiences and my knowledge and gives me a different perspective, which I can bring to acting. So it's a blessing. I feel there is abundance in universe and everybody gets an opportunity.
And I mean, I feel like this is a redundant question. I mean, of course, the representation, but how did you internally deal with the lack of it and the stereotyping? I don't know if you found that in your journey, and tokenism and ideas like that.
I know there is racism, but I don't blame them because we don't create our own stories. We can also contribute in some ways, in a lot of ways, actually. We can create our own content. Why don't we do that?
Absolutely.
And that's what I've always tried to do, whether in theater or films. I have created around 20 or even more stories, Indian Australian stories in Australia. So you produce your own content and involve them. And I've always had Western audience, like for Gandhari, in Hollywood Fringe, there were so many Americans, white Americans enjoying the show because luckily they are familiar with the story of Mahabharata and they wanted to see how it's been done. And language is not a barrier then. They could easily relate to it. And having subtitles in English definitely helps. That help them understand where the story is going. So we also can help, and we should.
Absolutely. No, that's really good advice, I think, for anyone. I mean, for me personally, that's really good advice. And for anyone like looking to tell their own story, that no one is stopping you except for yourself.
That's right.
On that note of inspiring new artists, what advice would you have for young artists like myself and others watching who are trying to get into the arts field?
My only advice is to stay focused, stay positive, and continue working on your craft. In my case, I've noticed the harder I work, the luckier I get.
Absolutely. And what is, before the pandemic, of course, what was like your schedule like? I feel like that's a really difficult question.
Look, before pandemic, we used to go out to audition, meet casting directors. But pandemic has changed the dynamics. Now we've got an expert in self-tapes. Like everyone else, every other actor, I have a bunch of new equipment and I'm getting better at self-tapes. And that's a new way of life. And it's going to be there for a while, I think. That's a new way of doing things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the pandemic has been rough on everyone, and especially the arts. And it seems like you've really adapted well to this new way of art making. So
is there a choice? I did 2 short films during pandemic, taking care of all the precautions and everything. But there is not much you can do. You can't be on a big set. You can't have too many techies around. It's not the same anymore.
yeah, same. It's a very different experience, but I'm looking forward to hopefully when we can open back up and perform again.
Keeping my fingers crossed soon.
Yeah, absolutely. So my next question is based on the title of the show. Can you tell me one kissa or episode that was very influential in your life? It can be in the arts or not. Something that no one knows about, but you would like to share because they should.
I have shared this with my friends in Australia, but I don't think I've shared this incident with anyone in USA. When I was in Australia, Sydney Theatre Company opens its wings towards in the community, and they produced a show called Leviathan, which was bigger than Ben-Hur play. It had more than 200 artists involved on stage. And this is a biography of Sydney written by John Birmingham. And it was a beautiful adaptation done by Stefan Ansu, resident director of Sydney Theatre Company. When John Birmingham had written that book, Indians were not very big in numbers in Australia. So he didn't mention anything. But when Steffo did the adaptation, I was invited to add the Indian chapter to this beautiful adaptation. And at the launch, Kate Blanchett and Andrew Upton came to her. They were the artistic directors of Sydney Theatre Company then in 2010. And I was invited for a group photo shoot with Kate Blanchett and Andrew Upton. And when I was introduced, I had a full 10 minutes to introduce myself and talk about my work in the community and Abhinay School of Performing Arts. I was so mesmerized that such an accomplished actress is so humble and so down to earth and talking to me like a friend, asking me what I do. And I could see her struggle as a working mother, balancing life, kids, and work. She asked me to come stand next to her for the photo shoot. I was so nervous that I took a step back and I said, no, I'm fine here. I don't know why I did that. But I was in awe. I had so much admiration for her work as Elizabeth film which was directed by Shekhar Kapoor.
Yes.
And that day I had a feeling that I met the Queen.
Oh.
Came home thinking that I was with Queen Elizabeth during the day.
I mean, the way that you're describing her, that's like the same way that I would describe you. I mean, you've accomplished so much.
Oh,
you're
no.
So humble about it.
Please, there is no comparison. No, I'm nowhere near her. But I mean, I could see she came with her son, Iggy, who was a toddler then, her third son. And he was so mesmerized looking at the tabla beats, the live tabla, which was happening at Abhinay School Corner. Yeah. And he was just watching the tabla player in his hands. And she was such, I mean, as a loving mother, I mean, I could relate so much to her.
Absolutely. That's really wonderful. I mean, Kate Blanchett is one of like my favorite actresses. So
yeah, one of my favorite Australians as well.
Absolutely. I had no clue that they were the founders of the Sydney. No,
they were not. They are not the founders. They were artistic directors then.
Okay. Wow. That's really amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, I would have never known to ask about that, so thank you. So what is next for you? What are you currently working on?
I recently co-produced and acted in a short film called Diwali Surprise.
Okay.
With Rashmi Rustagi, and I can't wait to share it with the world. It's directed by Astha Verma and currently in post-production, but I'm just waiting to submit it to various film festivals.
Amazing. And I know it's called Diwali Surprise, so you probably can't tell us much, but can you tell us something about it?
It's a surprise.
Damn
Let it be a surprise.
All right. And that'll probably be coming out later this year?
No, very soon.
Oh, okay. Wonderful.
It's a short film.
Before Diwali?
Before Diwali, much before Diwali. I would say around Holi.
Oh.
We launched it around Holi.
Wonderful.
Yeah, keeping my fingers crossed.
Oh, yes. I feel like with everything you say these days, you have to add that to the end.
Yeah, you never know.
And is there anything that I've missed that you want to share?
Mm, I don't know.
For example, like what was, oh, this is something that I've been meaning to ask you. What is your favorite project that you've worked on so far?
That's a hard one. It's like your babies. You like everything you do. That's why you do it. I don't know. I come back to Gandhari again because that's something which I've done so many times and I would like to do over and over again. A film you have done once is done, it's over. And theater, it's a very collaborative process and you can't get actors with you all the time, same actor. It's not easy, especially in Hollywood. But Gandhari is something which is the closest to my heart, and I'm thankful to Arvindji for it and Sangeeta ji for her beautiful music. I would love to perform it again sometime soon.
I hope that you can, and I hope that I get to watch it because I know I've seen it twice, but that never feels like enough. That show is so powerful.
And I'm working on another powerful script on Kasturba Gandhi.
Okay.
People don't really know much about Kasturba. Everybody talks about Mahatma Gandhi, but she was the power behind his ideas and what he could do, what he could achieve for the country. And I feel women are sometimes not given due credit. Like another character that inspires me is Urmila. There is so much written about Ram and Sita, but not much about Urmila. Anywhere you don't find a mention.
Absolutely.
I feel when they went for exile, Sita went with her husband, and Urmila was left behind to look after her in-laws. What was her fault, and why couldn't she be with her husband? There is. I have various questions. I would like to work on it someday if I can find some information somewhere. That would be a very interesting subject.
I love that you find these women that we don't really know about. I mean, my last guest as well, Ariana Officer, she had written a musical about the U.S. United States Congress's first congresswoman. It's the first one. So I really admire you and her and all these artists who find these people that have done so much yet not received recognition for what they've done, or just kind of whose voices have been marginalized and put aside, and you really give a voice to them and tell their stories. So I really appreciate that because people need to know these stories. So thank you for that.
Yeah, together we can make a difference.
Absolutely. And I think that was my last question, and I really want to thank you so much for sharing your time and your story with us, and for all of your inspiration. I mean, I'm continuously inspired by you, and I'm sure that anyone watching this show is also, if not until now will be continuously inspired by you. And I hope that this series continues to serve as an inspiration to anyone who wants to pursue a career in the arts and to use their voice. So
It was
thank you
nice,
so much for joining me.
nice talking to you, Ishika. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. And everyone watching, please stay tuned for the next episode of A Kissa with Ishika on Sunday, March 28th at noon Pacific time. I will give you guys little hints about who our next guest is. It'll be very exciting. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can get notified about when I post new videos, and share this video with anyone that you think, in your friends and family, or anyone else that you think would enjoy listening to Aishveryaa Nidhi's story. And yeah, in the meantime, stay safe, wear a mask, and This is Ishika Muchhal signing off.